Hey everyone, Zandrous here, and welcome back to Zandrous Reviews, where I give you my opinion of a recently released movie and tell you whether it's good, bad, as well as give you some information about the movie. Today's movie is, of course, Captain America Civil War. Now, before we go any farther, I will be doing my best to keep any spoilers to a minimum. I will warn you when I go into any kind of spoiler territory. For the most part, this will be a spoiler-free review. But again, I will warn you ahead of time, so no worries. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay. Just out of the gate, honest opinion. Go see this movie. That's the long and short of it. It's a good movie. The cinematography is great. The characterizations were fantastic. I loved the musical score. I loved the action. I loved just the drama that was going on in this. I loved everything about this movie. Now again, this doesn't mean it's perfect, but overall, this was a fantastic movie. And once again, the Captain America movies just keep upping the ante. Now, mind you, I still not seen Winter Soldier. I know I went and saw this movie without seeing Winter Soldier and without seeing Age of Ultron. But regardless of not seeing those, I know enough about those movies and what happens in them to have a good enough understanding of what's going on here. So I didn't need them as much as I would have to go to see this movie, but I still didn't need them as much to even enjoy it. I can honestly say that from beginning to end, this movie had my attention. I hated, outright hated, nothing about this movie. I enjoyed every minute in that theater. I went with a friend of mine. He was engulfed in the movie a lot of the times, as was I. Every once in a while, we kind of pulled ourselves away from it with something stupid, like a joke happened, and we had to laugh, and we kind of broke away a minute. But yeah, go see this movie. If you are a fan of Marvel, go see this movie. If you're a fan of superhero movies in general, go see this movie. If you're a fan of DC, go see this movie. It's worth it. All in all, though, great movie. I expect it to do really well in the box office. In fact, I expect it to break certain records. That's how good it is. So let's go into a little more detail here. Again, spoiler-free. For those that don't know the plot of this movie, Civil War takes place after the events of the previous Avenger movies and other big catastrophes that have happened throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point. And the governments in the world are concerned about the Avengers' actions as they've gone out and tried to protect the civilians in the world. And there has been a lot of collateral damage, whether caused by the villains or the bad guys in those situations, or even by the Avengers themselves. These big, massive battles in New York, and I think it was DC and a few other places throughout the world, and people have died. Innocent people have died, and it's making a lot of countries in the world nervous. A lot of people, civilians and government officials alike, concerned with the Avengers going unchecked. And that's when they drop a deal to limit the Avengers. And this is an accord between 117 nations, I believe. And they're wanting the Avengers to sign up and to kind of be reined in. And they built this up really well. This is a great way to show a bit of humanity in the heroes, because they don't understand. It's not that they don't understand that people are dying. It's just getting all that coming in, all the weight of the death and destruction that they've had a hand in by accident, or just like I said, collateral damage is finally coming around to bite them in the ass. And it sets up a really interesting moral dichotomy, where it's like, look, we cannot risk innocent lives. This is wrong. We need to be put in check. And that's your Iron Man side. Then there's the we're here as a buffer to protect as many people as possible. Not everyone will be saved, Our job is to minimize casualties. People will die. We need to learn to live with that as part of our responsibilities of protecting people, and we can't let it consume us, but we have to protect and save as many people as possible, even if we fail some people. And that's your Captain America side, that they need to be free to protect those at a moment's notice and do their best to save as many as possible, and then we need to be put in check and only be sent in when needed. We cannot just operate outside the law anymore. And those are our two big ideals that are being put to the test here. And it's really hard to really pick one side or the other, because you can see both sides. So I think that really sets up a solid argument and a good conflict between our heroes in this movie. And it's really hard to take one side over the other, just purely on the ideologies. From that point on, we start getting our mystery as to what's going on, and we have, one of the characters from the previous movie, the Winter Soldier, being chased down as a culprit to a recent terrorist attack. And that kind of creates more of a rift between our two main heroes, Iron Man and Captain America, and a little bit more in the team. And it just leads to a bunch of not antics, but a bunch of conflicts between the governments and the Avengers, and then within the Avengers themselves. And I think it really sets up not really painting most people in a bad light. It does kind of paint the government a little bit in a bad light, but then again, sometimes government does overstep. But it kind of makes the government a little more bad than it does with just siding with Iron Man or siding with Captain America, and the other side just being bad and the other side being good. Because that's not the case with our heroes. They're good people. They're just making tough choices. And it just kind of makes the government like, whoa, we're by the book and you're killing people and evil and we're going to do things. We'll put you in check by force if have to. And then we have, this is a minor spoiler, so if you don't want to hear about this next section, skip ahead a little bit. I'll put a timestamp right here when I finish talking about this little thing. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it does have a bit to do with the plot and why this is going on. So if you don't want to know anything about the plot at all, beyond just the basic synopsis, without getting into the intricacies, skip to right here, and I'm going to go on from here, so you've been warned. Okay, so there is a villain in this that has been orchestrating everything in the shadows. His name is Helmut Zemo, and he is the one trying to get the Avengers to fight each other. And he, through manipulation and murder and espionage and things like that, he manages to get the Avengers to start turning on each other, and it gets really personal between Stark, Rogers, and Bucky. So they all really get into something that deals with their own personal histories, and it gets intermingled, and it's just all this to rip the Avengers apart from the inside out, to rot it from the core. And I have to say, I enjoyed this villain. He isn't some megamaniacal, egotistical asshole who wants to take over the world, or he wants to just put his own new world order into place. He has no affiliation, with Hydra or anything like that. But he is a man who has a hatred for the Avengers. He is someone that suffered as a side effect of them protecting humanity and protecting the world. And in a lot of ways, he's a sympathetic villain, in so much as you understand his reasonings for doing it and why he was driven to do what he did. But on the other hand, he does unforgivable things such as murder on a big scale, and sets things in motion that end up getting people killed. and he cares about nothing else but his revenge. His vengeance is all that matters. And it creates decently complex villain. I think more so than other Marvel movies have had so far. And I think that's a good thing. And he's a very human character. It's not about money. It's not about, domination or anything like that. It's just a revenge story. It's vengeance. It's a simple, small drive. And it's a very focused one, and I think creates some really good tension. And the way they kind of have it going in the background, and you see parts of what he's doing here and there, and it's sprinkled out while there's still the Avengers and everything going on with them around everything else, and he's just kind of piece by piece here and there, and breadcrumb trails leading all up to this one event for a kind of interesting twist, in my opinion, near the end when it comes to his plan. Because I was thinking they were going one way with it, and they kind of last minute kind of swerve, and it's a different reason. He has a different reasoning for being here, and I liked it. I really did, and I enjoyed this villain. So, Marvel Studios, fantastic job. All right, back away from the spoiler stuff for a minute, and we're gonna talk about our heroes and what I thought. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. does amazing as always as Tony Stark. Still a good, complex character dealing with, what has happened to his character throughout all the movies. His own personal demons and the things that have affected his psyche and just the tragedy that has befallen his life and the good and the bad that have come from it. And it shows, that the weight of things starting to really, really bury him. And it kind of pushes him against the wall, and I think he is very well portrayed in this movie. Robert Downey Jr. does a great job there. Then you have our Captain America, or Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, who still has brought a humanity to the character that I'm sure most people wanted to see in Superman in the recent movies, and that humanity is captured so well in Evans' performance and the writing for this movie. There's complex issues, and there's things where Captain has his set morality and how he views the world, and it isn't strictly just his old time views. It's just his moral code and how he views everything. And it gets called into question a little bit in a few different sections. But all in all, he is still a character you can get behind and you can trust and you want to see succeed. And the same is said about Stark. And when they're going at you don't want to see these two fighting. But you want to because it's cool, but you don't want to because these people are on the same side and they want to protect people. There's just some ideological differences, and it's heart-wrenching at times, to see two friends, two people that have fought side by side against some massive enemies and massive evils, just kind of start falling apart and have a falling out, and it creates good drama. It creates good drama. But it creates good drama, and I think that's important for a movie like this. We can go into Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, always fun. I mean, going into Black Widow, and we're going into Falcon, and all the other characters in this movie, all the other Avengers, they're fantastic. I enjoyed Scarlet Witch. So I enjoyed Scarlet Witch because, again, I've not seen Age of Ultron, so I'm not as familiar with her character in the MCU, but I'm familiar with the character from the source material enough. And I have to say, Olsen did a fantastic job. I mean, I didn't really think that an Olsen could act. I grew up during the age where Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen ruled the world, and, their sister is taking a big step forward, and she did a fantastic job. I think, as Scarlet Witch. And I want to see more of her character. I want to see more Scarlet Witch going forward. So I really hope they give her character more growth and more on-screen time as well, because she handled her part well, and for what the storyline put on this character. So I can't talk positively enough about Elizabeth Olsen's performance, and I'm happy that she's part of this. Again, Falcon is always fun, and Anthony Mackie is just enjoyable to watch. I loved his banter with Steve Rogers. And so, like, Falcon and Captain America work so well with each other. You can tell they have a history together, and that's formed really well, being on this team. And the same can be said, of course, with Iron Patriot and Iron Man. And Rhodey and Stark are good friends and have been, and there's just still that brother mentality between them, where they got past their issues and are on the same side of things. And there's just so many characters to go through here. Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, good job. You were fun to have in this movie. I really did enjoy the parts with Ant-Man, as minor as they were in the grand scheme. They were enjoyable. Vision had a pretty interesting role, I think. And then again, with me having not seen Ultron, I don't know much of anything about Vision in the universe. I kind of just following with what I know from this movie at this point. And I think Vision's got a pretty good story arc to work with overall, and I like the chemistry between his character and Scarlet Witch and how they're developing. So I really like watching their time on screen together. And of course we have Hawkeye. And of course we've got Hawkeye in there. He's always fun when it comes to the quips, and the fight scenes were fantastic when he was involved. It wasn't just arrows this time, so I was happy they gave him a little bit more to do this. I can just sit around every 5 seconds. Yeah, I'm making sound effects. Who cares? And then, of course, we had the big thing people were so happy about in this movie, which was Spider-Man. And Spider-Man was done right in this movie, in my opinion. Whether it was Tom Holland as Peter Parker or as Spider-Man, I believed it. He was more Peter Parker than Andrew Garfield. He was more Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire. This is what I want. He's an awkward, unsure teenager who's dealing with a lot of personal stuff, and he's got these powers, and he's still pretty new at this. I think in the movie they said he'd been doing the Spider-Man thing, or at least had these powers for half a year. So he's still pretty green, and it shows, but it's just so fun. I loved every scene that had Spider-Man. It was so great. And I'm really excited for Homecoming, even if I do not like the title of the Spider-Man movie. I am excited for the movie itself. And I think this is a great way to kind of bring him in and make him part of this cinematic universe. And the best part about Spider-Man this movie, for me, was that there was no mention of Uncle Ben. At all. There was no mention of him as a person, as a character, at all. There was no mention from him or Aunt May. There was no mention of the shooting. You did not hear "with great power comes great responsibility" at all in this movie, and I was happy for it. I am tired of seeing that backstory. We know it. We have seen it. We don't need it anymore. I am glad they kind of glanced over it. I mean, we as an audience know, for the most part, I don't know many people that don't know Spider-Man's backstory, his origin, about why he decided to become a crime fighter and why he became Spider-Man. We, mostly as a culture, know it. So I'm happy they just kind of imply things a little bit, and you can see hints of him hurt, but you don't get explicitly told, Uncle Ben was here and Uncle Ben died because Spider-Man was all absorbed in his own mind and his own greed and his own little world and his own self-importance, and that caused the death of Uncle Ben because he could have stopped it. I didn't have to deal with that, and I'm happy I didn't have to deal with it. So thank you, Marvel, for doing this. and giving Sony an idea of how we don't really need the origin stories all the time when you reboot things. So, yeah. But for me, the breakout character that I enjoyed the most, and outside of Spider-Man, but my favorite character out of this, I think, that has the most potential and was the most, grounded, well-rounded, and complex character for me was Black Panther, because I think there's so much potential with a fantastic standalone movie for him. I mean, wow. I was like, hang on a second. So, I mean, Chadwick Boseman was perfect casting. I think the casting for Black Panther was as on par, it was as dead on as Robert Downey was for Tony Stark. It is perfect casting. I cared about this character and his plight when it came to the family things that come up. I cared about why he had his motivation for what he did throughout the movie. I enjoyed him on scene. When he's on screen, he steals the scene, in my opinion. And I think that's a great thing. This is a character that's getting built up, and you care, you want to see more, and I want to see more. I love the design of the outfit. I loved the acting for this character. I love the arc they put him through, and I see so much potential for this character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from here on out. And I really hope they capitalize and do more with Black Panther. In fact, with a lot of the Avengers in this, I want to see more. I want to see more Spider-Man. I want to see more Black Panther. I want to see more Scarlet Witch. I think the next phase, focusing more on those characters and Ant-Man and stuff, is going to really bring about a really good surge of energy and attention to the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the next phase and on. And we can start slowly moving away from the focus on Captain America and Iron Man and the ones we've been following for the last several years already. And we start focusing on the next set of characters and kind of keep the vitality for the franchise there without it wearing out its welcome and getting kind of old hat. So I'm really hoping they capitalize on this. And there's still more movies coming out with more characters that I hope do well. But these specific characters, I guess we call them side characters, because the main focus, of course, is Captain America and what's going on with him and Stark and Bucky, and everything else is kind of just a tangential connection to it. But I want to see more of these tangential characters and their stories and their developments. So, and I think that's a great thing this movie did, was making the focus Captain America, but giving such great development for all these other characters and allowing them to really, really stretch out and expand. And I'm really, really excited for the future of this franchise. So, yeah, I'm just really having a big nice thing. I kind of went on there for a minute. Sorry. I really enjoyed this movie. When it comes to the ending, I think it wraps up in the best way possible. And I'm not going to run the ending, but it wraps up a lot of loose threads from the previous movies that have been building through to now. Not everything. There's still a few things kind of left out there, but for the most part, it wraps things up rather nicely, and it sets the mood and the tone and the direction for majority of these characters from here on out. So I think this movie has been a great way to kind of finish off the first two phases in the Avengers overall, and really start setting forth from here, because now we're going to start getting into your Doctor Stranges, your Captain Marvels, Guardians of the Galaxy in the more galactic aspect is going to get more involved, so they're getting closer to Infinity War. So I'm excited for the aspects of these characters, those stories coming up, and I think this is a great way to give a good launching point for the next phase, which is what, phase 3 and phase 4, I believe, is where we're going from here. It looks promising. And the wrap up really helps cement that change and this kind of changing of the guard and passing of the torch in a way. So yeah, good movie. So yeah, awesome. Now, when you go see this movie, make sure to stay through the credits. There are 2 post-credit scenes. There's the midway credit scene, and then there's the end credit scene. There's 2. So yes, come in, watch the movie, sit through the initial credits, and sit through the full credits, because you get little bits of sprinkling for storylines leading forward. Also, one more fun thing, the Stan Lee cameo. It's nice, quick, and short. 1 second. And of course, there's the Stan Lee cameo. It's short and sweet, to the point, and it's always a joy to see him. I've heard rumor that this might be his last cameo in a Marvel movie, and if that's the case, it's sad, because I always enjoy his cameos. But, you know, I can deal with it for the most part if this was his last one, because he's had some fantastic cameo appearances throughout all the different Marvel movies. So, if this truly is the end of Stan Lee cameos, it goes off on a funny note. Or at least an amusing note. I found it amusing. So, overall, this movie really gets my recommendation. If you like action movies, if you like good character dramas, if you like superheroes or Marvel, go see this movie. Hands down, this is, I think, going to be the best superhero movie of the year. And you need to go see it. So this gets my full approval. And that brings this episode of Zandrous Reviews to a close. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Don't forget to leave a comment down below if you have seen this movie, some of your favorite scenes. If you're excited for this movie, if you haven't seen it yet, who is your favorite Marvel superhero? And are you excited for what's to come for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video. And of course, come back again. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more Zandrous reviews throughout this year. There are definitely movies I'm excited to see, and some actually surprised me that I'm excited to see. So, who knows? But I'll be back again soon with another movie review for you. So until then, my name is Zandrous, and as always, please remember, stay awesome. Until next time.